Welcome, dear all, to twitch.tv/Wensleydale Cheddar. This is the special Golden Week edition of Stammer Stream, where we're going to discuss the new event that's just started, and answer some questions from our dear fellow writers from our One Piece role-playing forum, One Dream Adventure Reborn. But first, let us introduce ourselves. I'm your stammering host, Wensleydale Cheddar, the Usopp of our crew, in that I'm constantly surrounded by people who are better than me at everything I do. Also in that I have an alter ego who's much more successful than I am in real life, despite not being very successful in the first place. I'm of course joined here by your non-stammering host, Kastor UK, the Zorro of our crew, in that he...
Yes!
Let me finish. In that he does stuff occasionally, but then gets lost and stops writing.
Shit.
Now it doesn't seem so cool, right? Okay, so then we have Dr. Nova, the Luffy of our crew, but specifically the... but specifically, the Luffy from the Amazon Lily arc, because that's where he gets a harem. Oh god. And we will soon be joined by Hovin with an H.
Wait, no explanation for that?
Don't need it.
Okay,
Do we need an explanation?
Never mind.
And we will soon be joined by Hovin with an H, the Brook of our crew, in that he's a talented musician who politely asks women to show him the panties. Now, I can't verify that last bit of information, but admit it, you would believe me if I told you if it were true.
And he's also not here to defend himself, so...
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, I'm gonna have a... so yeah, he's probably gonna have a good talking to with me if he listens to the introduction later. So, how are you gents doing this week?
For the most part, very good. I'm done school right now, which means I can sort of concentrate on other projects going forward. A lot of it is prep work, though, because as most people on the forum know, I kind of take a hiatus during July and August because I'm working in a place where internet is not the most available thing. But the prep work for that is going really well so far, so I'm good.
Cool. Kastor?
As for me, I'm getting ready for the exam period, so that's fun. Not much to say apart from just living in and out of notes at the moment. But good.
I've actually taken the time to properly work on my thesis, so that's a plus. And yeah, okay, I have a tangent to go into, but it's tied to one of my questions, so it's probably better if you get yours out of the way, Nova.
We have a properly ordered list of tangents to go down. We can't jump between them.
So I discovered something almost directly after we recorded the last episode. And I've been sitting on this for a whole week because it is baffling to me. So there's this anime that is currently being translated, and its name is long as hell, so I'm going to say the English name, which is World End. What do you do at the end of the world? Are you busy? Will you save us? Which is the actual Japanese name is long as hell. So I started watching this show completely by accident. I just stumbled upon it. And bizarre things started to happen, guys. First thing is that the entire show takes place above the world. The world has been destroyed, or something along those lines. So everything takes place on islands floating in the sky, which is actually a story concept I've used in the past. So that appealed to me right away.
Okay.
For some reason, it's both medieval and modern, since it's a medieval setting, but there are, like, airships and stuff. So, again, a lot of stuff I like there. then out of nowhere, and this is the weird thing, a Japanese medieval-style cover of the song Scarborough Fair starts playing. Now, for those who don't know, Scarborough Fair is a song most prominently sung by Simon and Garfunkel. And for those who don't know what Scarborough is, it's a weird, not really that glamorous suburb off of Toronto, Canada. And also happened to be my lullaby as a kid. So this is weird. Not just the level of, like, in the Japanese anime, there's a song about, like, a suburb of Toronto in it. But the fact that it was also specifically my lullaby, and I'm very confused, but you've got me now. So the main character gets a job, after the song finishes, he gets a job working as a caretaker for a weapons facility. But it's not actually a weapons facility, but a weird pseudo-orphanage for children who are afraid of him until he wins them over by cooking. And I was watching, it's like, has somebody just stolen pieces of my life, thrown them into an anime, and not paid me royalties? But at the same time, it combines, like, everything I love in my life with everything I hate about anime nowadays, like the weird young harem bullshit. And the fact that every single show needs to be like little girls fighting giant monsters with a main character who can kind of fight but doesn't really fight, and he has like the short black hair and it's so confusing and baffling to me. And there's only 3 episodes left, and I am hooked on whatever the hell I'm watching.
Which genie did you piss off that essentially gave you your perfect anime and then ruined it for you?
It's like, I have no idea, but it's the funniest thing to me. Just when Scarborough Fair starts playing, I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
So I saw a Lelouch in the chat. What's the context for that?
Milo's eavesdropping on us.
Oh, you didn't hear me come in.
Who is this? Who are you? How do you get in here? No. Cheddar was saying that he didn't know what Felix looked like.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So I dropped my main pitch.
Nice.
Yeah, because
Cross between that and Isaiah from Durara.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes. Basically, if you, I was going to do the whole library gang for the cover this week, but essentially then I decided to just do the eyebrow pirates because I didn't know what Felix looked like, and then I just did Gulch and Kevlar and
Rin is technically there.
Yeah, a cheap Mexican version of Rin with just a random cabbage thrown into the background. But yeah, I would actually like to draw your crews at some point whenever we have a week without jump.
I have linked the stream to my friends from the Cabal, but they're currently arguing about which girl from Little Witch Academia is the best, so I'm not sure how many will actually join.
Why am I not surprised?
Though Grail seem to have joined, so hey there.
Okay, that's something.
Nice.
We have an audience, holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think we had 2 people watching last time, but they just haven't said a word. So I'm just counting them as I have a tights fetish and the other one.
Just gonna throw them into that category. All right. So
yeah.
So do we want to get this ball rolling?
Sure.
Right.
Yes, I believe it's now time for Cheddar's arranged tangent.
Do we get to our questions first? Because as we
could do either order.
As we do have relatively few manga to talk about, so we have taken some questions from the forum people, and we're going to answer them, and we're going to ask each other questions as well. So how are we going to do it, Jonah?
So, how this is essentially going to work is we're going to alternate between forum questions and our own questions. So we're going to start with one of ours, then we flip back, and we flip back, etc., etc. My question is, do we want to start with the manga first and get that out of the way, since the later questions we can kind of breeze through a bit faster? Or do we want to start with the questions and breeze through those?
Jonah, did that count as your question?
No.
Sure.
I mean, I've got all the notes and kind of the manga fresh in my head, so maybe start with those.
Yeah,
sure.
That sounds good then.
All right.
So we're gonna start with, I believe, Fairy Tale, chapter
Alrighty.
532 and 533.
Ooh, goody.
All right.
This may be interesting.
So we start with the color page of Mavis and X-Zero shipping fuel, and more shipping fuel across all of the preceding color pages, which implies worrying things about Gildarts and Canna.
Yeah, why?
Yeah, and then we also get more Zeref and Mavis angst, as they're just shown back to back with each other. So we go into the chapter, and Natsu and Zeref continue their fight, but Mavis stops them. She tells Zeref that she can free him from immortality, but reveals that he's scared of Acnologia because he can't beat him, but he can't die either. So if Acnologia's plan to wipe out everyone worked, him and Mavis would just be there as his playthings, basically. So rather than actually hear what her idea is and hear it out, he just decides to activate the Neo Eclipse by claiming Fairy Heart by groping her. So yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
I was just going to ask: is he copying a feel? Or
it's too low. It's really weird.
Anyway, the others are still on the run from Acnologia. They still have their plan to reopen the space. However, they plan on doing that. Zeref is talking about how Neo Eclipse will let him reset his life to 400 years ago, and he promises Mavis that he'll kill Acnologia before he becomes too powerful. Mavis is begging him to stop, but she's drained of all her magic and just collapses. Zeref activates Fairy Heart and lets out a shockwave that hits the whole town. And in the aftermath of this, he's taken on this new white form with wings, apparently tapping into unlimited power. I wrote that in caps. Anyway, so the next chapter is a cover page with the Loki arc, which tells me that they're getting through these fairly slowly with all the color pages they've had. So if these pages showing each of the arcs really are just in the wind down to the end, it's probably winding down at a leisurely pace. It tells me. Anyway. Everyone else in town is confused about what just happened. Laxus arrives carrying Makarov's body, pushing him to return him to the guild. According to Freed, Mavis told them not to go anywhere near it. Lucy and Gray recover, and Lucy reveals her plan to overwrite the words of the Book of Zeref to try and save Natsu, but just like a small portion of it. Back at the guild, Natsu unleashes a wall-destroying attack on Zeref, which seems to disintegrate him, but he rematerializes because he's a god, and doesn't have any limitations to how much magic can use, and his hacks is shit. And then he impales Natsu through the chest, letting him fall to the floor. So yeah, that's the lot.
I am so grateful for this cover page, because I completely forgot that Loki was ever a thing.
Oh yeah.
I remember him from the early chapters, and I think Hero somewhat built him up to be kind of a big deal, but then after becoming Lucy's spirit, he just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, faded into the background.
Yeah.
This actually reminded me of something I found even more disappointing. How fucking useless was Lucy's new dress power?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Has she ever used that in any significant way?
Not that she has, but it's always been to set up
yeah.
for a joke.
Or to try out a fan servicey outfit.
I think the last time she used it was when she fired arrows at Agil.
Yeah, and did fuck. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's so useless.
Okay. Milo, you'll know this.
Yeah.
Has Laxus and Mira Jane ever been hinted to be a thing?
I was just gonna
Yeah,
ask that.
yeah, It's like, I think both when he returned to the guild and when he left, like, or no, hold on. Yeah, it was in the Phantom Lord arc. She was like begging him to come back to the guild, and he was going no, and she got very upset about it. And then when he came back to the guild, I think she gave him a bit of a scolding or something in the Tenro arc.
Because I remember that scene from the anime, and when she was begging him to come back, I believe, at least in the anime, his caveat was, yes, if you sleep with me.
No, that wasn't it at all. I'd remember if it was that.
He was being a massive douche and essentially trying to extort her for something, and she was just like, no, fuck off.
I don't think, yeah, he might not have been quite as explicit at that, but yeah, he was definitely being a douche about it.
Yeah, it's just apparently this massive character arc's gone on with Laxus where he's a good guy now. It would have been really nice if Hero had shown us that.
Well, he has actually shown us the the sign that Laxus and his grandfather had when they attended this festival, and yes, that was a thing. Very briefly.
Thing.
Yeah.
Very retroactively.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. I liked this chapter because Zeref is fucking terrifying. I just really like the way he became really menacing, even if he is groping Mavis. He was really intimidating in this, and essentially just going, "Oh, you're here to stop me." No, I'm about to become a god, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. I have a theory about a certain plot point brought up in these chapters, which is the Book of Zeref rewriting thing. I have a feeling that I think the best idea would probably be to have them go to Freed, because he's an expert in runes and stuff. Or was it Freed? Yeah.
Yeah, Freed and Levy.
Yes, yeah, go to them and like ask them to decipher it. Although God knows what his actual idea for this is.
Yeah, because if Lucy's essentially able to hacksaw Natsu to give him buffs and make him better, just like this is bullshit of the highest order. And also, can we have Lucy do something interesting instead of just mess around with Natsu's heart?
Well, I didn't particularly find Zeref menacing because, well, infinite magic power doesn't really mean anything in a world where mana isn't really gauged properly. We don't really see it as outside of a few mentions that I'm just about to run out of magic power, but then it can just as easily be replenished by the power of friendship.
Yeah, I agree, but it's okay. The moment Hero stopped coloring him in, he was just like, "Oh, he's a god now. This is going to be boring." But the bit when he's just insulting, playing with Mavis beforehand, that was when I found him intimidating.
Oh god, I've just realized you also see Aizen in him.
Oh yeah, the wings.
Yeah, and
I saw more what's his name, Madara from Naruto.
I'll tell you what I see in this, and this is why I kind of hate both of these. Fairy Tail has just turned into a Final Fantasy game at this point.
Oh yeah,
absolutely and completely. The main villain has gained his boring as shit looking god form with just no look. I get it, he's supposed to look like a god, but with no shading and, to be honest, very unoriginal outfits. Like, oh, he's got a long coat and wings. Oh, never seen that shit before. And then this weirdly broken, okay, I get it, this is most likely the final villain. He has to have a really broken power, which is just that, oh, I control space and time. And it's all so boring. It's nothing new. It's nothing interesting. It's nothing original. And
we are reviewing Fairy Tale though.
I know, but at the very least, I was hoping for something more interesting. And this is where I need to refer to you guys, because I'm very confused here. Why does... So the entire motivation for this whole thing, this whole reason that it started happening was... Okay, there's a frog in my throat. Give me a second. You guys pick up for a moment. I'll get back to this. I got
Frosh, no!
Frosh thinks so too!
Oh, God. So he murders Natsu, straight up, for what I'm going to assume is one chapter, because I'm pretty sure he's going to be back.
I would put money on that.
Nobody thinks this is a big deal.
So for the next 17 pages, Natsu's Totsuma Goat's dead, guys. But...
Oh god, then they rewrite the book and suddenly he's alive. Oh god, I bet that's going to happen.
That's my thing, is like, they say the book is tied to Natsu, and I assume that's how they're going to bring him back, because if that's not the case, I don't get what the inherent drama is of, oh, we can't destroy this book because it'll kill Natsu, if the main villain just straight up murders Natsu a few feet away. Because if that's... I'm going to put some faith in Hiro at this point and say that the book will have something to do with some Natsu bullshit. Otherwise, Gray and Lucy and Happy have been sitting on that fucking bench for 2 months for no reason.
On the site I'm reading, 534's come out.
Oh, we'll get... Okay.
I mean, there's shit in the... Okay, I'll be quiet, but... That was very funny, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, I can give some compliments to this chapter. I can fully acknowledge that I actually think the scene between Mavis and Zareth is well done. I like the fact that there's actually... And look, it's kind of up in the air as to what it is. I guess just magical power is forcing Natsu back, but I at least like the fact that there's a reason why he didn't just go in and snatch Mavis immediately. But I don't know, it just feels a little uninspired to me, and I know that's a personal thing, but I'm getting nothing out of this new version of Zareth.
I still don't understand what Mavis' plan was. What made her think this was the perfect moment to try to reason with Zareth? But I guess, yeah, that's Hiro writing a tactician, eh?
Friendship? Maybe? I don't know. I'm still not entirely sure Hiro actually thought of a proper Mavis plan yet, just that she had to have a plan that didn't work.
I mean, they did meet before, right? Why didn't she tell him that sooner? Why did she wait until now to tell him?
Also, Mavis sucks. You put a hand on her head and she's fucked. Like, aren't you a powerful wizard? It's like someone
People
holds you at
keep
the
on
top of your
saying
head
that.
and...
We've never seen it.
I know. I just found that very amusing. It's just like holding her at the top of her head and she's like struggling all around, and I'm like, do you have magic or something? Like, just kick him in the balls at the very least. They shouldn't be that hard to get out of.
Yeah, I'm just I have more of an issue with Hiro informing us that she's clever and then never really following up on it at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, Grail says that Lucy did use the dress in a fight with Brandish. I think.
Ah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay, so that's fair enough then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and Zareth becomes a Logia at this point because he got the form.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I'm exhausted with Fairy Tail at this point.
Alright then, so shall we move on
I've learned to just kind of go with it and not think too hard.
That's what I do.
I'm gonna try that out.
If you read it as a gag manga, it's really, really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not even. Yeah, we got the movie coming out in a few weeks, and I'm not sure who I'm gonna manage to convince to go with me, because like, even my non-Cabal friends, like the Cabal are already pretty not great on Jump, but even the people who like Shonen don't care about Fairy Tail at Leeds Anime Society. So yeah.
Well,
I might just have to go see it in shame on my own.
Speaking of seeing things in shame, what'd you guys think of We Never Learn this week?
Oh yeah. Who's recapping this? Because I have notes, but I think we had plans to split it or something.
The idea was that when we thought there were going to be 6 chapters coming out this week, I was going to take chapters 10, 11, and 12, and Cheddar was going to take chapters 7, 8, 9.
Okay.
Yeah, I still have my rather detailed notes on chapter 7, and then a bit less detailed notes on chapter 8.
And, and I have my detailed notes on chapters 10, 11, and 12, which I'm not going to use this week because I only got 2 chapters.
I have some pretty not detailed notes on the chapters that came out in this issue, so which I guess we'll let Wensleydale do it since we've only got 3 series to look at.
Yeah, since I'm not recapping anything else this week, so yeah. All right then. Yeah. So it's We Never Learn chapter 7 and chapter 8. And since I don't have the access to the official release, then you might have noticed that I'm not naming the chapter titles because I don't want to get them wrong. So yeah, in chapter 7 we find out Takamoto needs to pass an English vocab test, or her club activities will be suspended due to needing supplementary lessons. She asks Yuiga for help, but since this is memorization, there's not really much he can do about it. So she gets 0 points on a mock test, then Ogata gets 68 since she's above average in linguistics, while Firmino gets a full score because she's got a perfect memory. Then Yuiga explains Takamoto just has to be patient and implements freaking medieval methods of learning that may make her pass the test, but will also make her forget about the words she's learned the next day, like writing them down over and over and again, decontextualizing them, and pronouncing them mechanically. Yeah, linguistics!
The best way to learn English!
Then Takamoto gets jealous about Firmino, but realizes her tits are bigger, and then I think Firmino dies?
And counts that as a victory.
Yeah!
So then Firmino dies? And then Takamoto asks if they couldn't make the lessons more fun. Yuiga says it won't be fun unless she's good at it. But then he completely undermines his point by making Takamoto essentially play a swimming memory game, and it turns out she works exactly the same as Taki from iShield 21, by which I mean that she connects her learning to her studying to the sport she takes part in. And then Ogata drowns, and Takamoto gives Yuiga her swimsuit as a present by mistake.
That was weird.
So yeah, 2 girls dead this chapter. So I guess harem solved. In chapter
the bodies
8,
are piling up.
Yeah. In chapter 8, we're at midterms already, which makes me think this manga might be a rather short one. The headmaster puts some pressure on Yuiga as we find out he really wants the girls to change the subject of choice. Because he basically sets a condition that if they don't score above average, then then it might be kindness to convince them to change the subject of choice. Right. Yuiga tries to motivate them, but Ogata is skeptical. She invites him over to her udon place. Her overprotective dad intimidates Yuiga. They start studying, and Yuiga teaches her a technique of crossing out all the unnecessary information in the text. She utilizes this move, but then runs out of time by the time she actually crossed out on all the unnecessary sentences, and fills the answers out at random. But she still, by some luck, gets a high score. And Fumino's test is next, but she's fallen ill after dying.
She got better.
Yeah, kind of.
I am so okay. Look, the first chapter is like classic harem-y stuff. I actually find it very funny. I think that chapter's fine. I'm so confused by the second chapter because if the principal wants Yuiga to push the girls into studying what they're actually really good at, why the fuck did he ask Yuiga to tutor them in the first place?
Well,
because they don't need tutoring for like what they're good at.
I don't think he does though.
Yeah, go on.
The impression I got was that the random aide standing next to him is the person trying to force in that these girls should be studying the subjects they're good at. Why on earth are they struggling when they're so naturally talented? Whereas the headmaster is like, no, I want to give these girls a chance to study what they want to, not turn them into mindless robots, but to give them let them study something that they have a passion for. The thing is, he's not a naive idiot. He knows that if the girls at this point in the year aren't above average, they won't be able to get into university at all. In which case, it would be better for them to, like, you wanted to try to do this, you're not going to make it, so therefore, to let you move on and move up in society, go to university for the thing you don't like but are good at. That's how I see it.
I assume that it ties into them going through several tutors already, and still after they've including that woman whom we see later. I assume that they didn't want to give up anyway, so they're essentially going through more and more tutors at the time, and finally Yuiga, and that's by this he's essentially trying to softly convince them to change. But yeah, I may be wrong.
Mm-hmm. I don't think the principal wants to convince them to change. I think he wants to encourage them, but it's like, okay, at a certain point, if you can't pass these exams, there's no hope for you. So it's like, as much as I want to help you, I need you to help you as like get a job first, and then help you. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't really have much to contribute except Takamoto best girl, yay!
I did like the way they're addressing like the different ways, so there's different styles of learning, and how someone who's good at science will struggle trying to learn a humanities subject. Yeah. Whereas I'm
also kind of in the same camp of like, I found myself enjoying the first chapter of this week a lot more than the second. But same as what Nova said. But yeah.
Well, yeah. I hate the way they're tackling language learning. So yeah. But apart from that, there are some funny bits, and this is above all else a comedy. So I like some little character details, like in chapter 7. Yuiga drinks as much as he can in all you can drink because he's poor, so he wants to make the most of it, and it's funny because though I'm not poor, I'm a massive cheapskate, so I've done the same thing a few times. It's something. It's something I didn't realize at first, but I like these character details, and in a later chapter, I've actually grown to like Yuiga. Well, apart from being a shitty language teacher, he's quite an interesting protagonist.
On the language teacher side, I don't think he's a shitty language teacher. From what I've read and seen, the way of teaching English in Japan is terrible. There's no grammar work, and it's all like, can you repeat these sentences ad nauseum until you can pronounce them correctly but have no idea what they mean?
I suppose, but still, whether it is the product of the environment and he's just repeating what he's learned, it's still not very good. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dr. Stone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So,
all right.
Chapter 8.
Yeah. In this chapter of Dr. Stone, there was almost fan service, but wasn't. Then Tsukasa starts pursuing our main characters, destroying people along the way. But in the meantime, Senku is slowly creating his recipe for gunpowder, which Taiju accidentally sets off and creates a giant explosion on the mountain, which not only destroys the hot springs, but is probably going to give Tsukasa a pretty good idea of where they are. But that's not all, because at the end of this chapter... Oh wait, I'm skipping over one thing. They're talking about the fact that for the actual use of the gunpowder, they don't actually want to kill Tsukasa. It's more of a threat to make him stop doing what he's doing. But if they can't come to that compromise, then Senku does realize that they probably will have to kill him. But the huge thing in this chapter is that they see another smoke signal out in the distance, which they immediately attempt to return, realizing that, and the theory we've all had is correct, other people have also broken out of the stone, and we're not sure how long they've been broken out.
This final development is fascinating, because I was expecting this to turn up, but I was not expecting it to turn up so soon. I would have thought they'd have had a couple more meetings with people like Tsukasa, like, he's the first antagonist, deal with him, kill him or bring him into the group, have some other people as they start to build up their group, and then finally run into new people. Bringing it out at this stage, I have no clue what's going to happen, because I don't know why it's been brought in, but I imagine the writer's good, so there must be a reason for it.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, you go ahead.
I can't wait to see whether they turn out to be potential allies for Senku or Tsukasa. Yeah, but this is an interesting swerve in that basically we had a situation if Senku manages to make weapons. Then Tsukasa loses. If Tsukasa catches up before, then they lose. What a third party might have accomplished up to this point is going to be a large factor in how the next events play out. Also, they've skipped to the Cold War rather quickly because we have an arms race and a deterring policy.
Yeah, I said that they're using gunpowder as an atomic bomb.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense with the scale they're at, but it is a bit It is a bit dark, these teenagers realizing, it's like, yep, but he'll do what we say, but what if he doesn't? We might actually have to shoot him then, because if we don't shoot him the first time, he just won't listen to us anymore and we'll stop working.
Yeah. I can't imagine that's actually how this series is. I can't imagine, like, the big resolution to this thing is how we take out Tsukasa. Oh, we blew him the fuck up. I assume that's not.
Yeah. I was thinking that eventually they get to the point where he's lost. He's got the pseudo gun pointed at him, and scientist guy essentially lowers it, saying, "No, get out of here. I can't shoot you, but because that's against shooting you would be against my moral code the same way as you smashing the spaces. But if you ever come near here again, I will shoot you." But no, third party. I've no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, and
again, no fan service at the start of this chapter. Gotta applaud that. That was.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, yeah. I still don't know why the girl's here then. Because it's not. She's not even here for fan service. In series like this, you introduce the girl to give her fan service, and then she goes along with the cool guys, and just like.
Yeah, this is actually kind of my issue.
Character.
Yeah, it just feels like she's here as like a goal for the main character. Like yeah, once we've taken back the world, I'll tell you I like you. Why can't you just tell her now?
Well,
yeah.
You know what?
Like,
I'm not usually big on that will they or won't they dynamic, but I can get Taija's reasoning that confessing now might be unfair for both of them, since they have a limited choice in a romantic partner at the moment. So I can see why Taija could think that waiting is the right thing to do. It makes sense for his character.
It does if he wasn't in an apocalyptic situation where tightening bonds between the last people on Earth is the natural thing to do. Also, if they are the last people on Earth, they do need to repopulate at some point. So,
they still can. Well, they still can bring people out of the petrification, right?
Yeah, I'm just more on the side of it's in a lovely fairy tale universe. It's very charming, but this is the apocalyptic future where everything's trying to kill them. So just like, can you two get out of your fairy tale castle and admit you have feelings for each other? Because if one of you dies, and you might, the other one is going to despair unless you tell each other.
There is one thing we've skipped over, which is one of the funniest things I've read in a long time, which is like Senku goes through like a wacky cooking montage, but like he's making gunpowder, which is both hilarious and terrifying that we're printing recipes to gunpowder in Shonen Jump.
Thing is, it's the right recipe.
I looked this up and was like, no, this is actually pretty similar. I'm like, wow, this is terrifying.
Yeah, this kind of has the potential to, yeah. I can imagine that like perfect crime party in Bakuman. This might not become an anime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm also just noting for the first time that Senku's kitchen has a really badass like logo.
All of this is just hilarious.
Yeah.
I can't say how much I miss this writer's humor. This is great.
To freaking top it all off, he at the end of making the gunpowder, he becomes Mirio for one panel.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. He becomes Pip-Boy.
Yeah. So, have we got anything else to say, or shall we move on to the questions?
Yeah, let's move on to forum stuff.
All right, so we will be alternating between questions from the podcasters and questions from the forum. And since there's an uneven number, we're going to start with questions from the podcasters. So the first one is going to come from Milo.
Okay, I think this is one that's quite an issue that we're all faced with once every now and then. What are your recommended techniques for getting past writer's block? Yeah.
For me, it's to immerse myself in other media for a little while, because I find if you're a little too much in your own head and in your own stories, you can get blocked off after a little while. So I'll watch a show for a little while. I'll watch a movie. I'll listen to music. I'll sort of, because that's personally where I find creative inspiration. So I find if I take a break from it from a little while and look at some other stories and pieces of art that I'm really, really enjoying, that kind of, it makes me want to create a lot more, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I kind of do the opposite. When I have a few things I can write, then when I have writer's block for one, I usually just go to the other and try to create then. So if I'm kind of stuck on forum stuff, then I maybe try to work on Penganta and the other way around. And sometimes as well, I probably have to do some academic stuff. So yeah, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't really have periods when I don't write anything. Well, except for when I animate, maybe. Yeah.
I'm notoriously bad for this, but recently I've got a couple of things that help me get around writer's block. The first one is just get something down on the page. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be great. It can seem like the biggest drivel coming out of your mind at that moment, but if you can just get it on the page, you can improve it later. You can work on it. You can get into the mind frame. It can give you more ideas, and it can grow and expand, and you can get back into it, get back into writing, get through the block much more quickly than just waiting around until inspiration hits you. The other bit I notice I do, which is more not writer's block of I don't know how to write this, but I don't know what to write, is I just end up describing a room for a couple of paragraphs. And that gives me ideas of what to put in the room, how the characters act, what the room says about the people inside it. Or depending on who I'm writing, I'll do other tangents and just occasionally get bored and write a small section of something that interests me at the time and lets me move back into the story proper.
Yeah, and sometimes, and this is sort of something I've experienced a lot in recent adventures, sometimes even if you don't know what to write, you just kind of have to like push it out, even though you know it's not the best. Because for me, I know a lot of the adventures that my characters are going to do after this. So like the example I'd give is Shoto's latest adventure. I'm not really too big on either of those, but I know what I want to do for the next one, and I got this huge writer's block with the second half of Shoto's adventure where I didn't feel like I knew how to make it as interesting as I wanted to make it. So I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to push this out, make it as half decent as I can. And if I get a bad review from that, fair enough, I'll take that and move on to the next adventure, which I know is going to be good. And that's just something you have to do sometimes.
For me, also kind of planning stuff out also works. If I'm stuck on this one thing, then I usually have a moment planned, like a gag or some kind of a character development moment. I know I want to have later on in the adventure, and I then I try to write it out on paper and bullet points, and I kind of just build to it logically.
Mm-hmm.
That sometimes helps.
Nice. Anyone else got any tips for something that we all fail at in different ways?
Yeah, sometimes you just have to force yourself, I guess. That's That is like sometimes I've had spurts where it's just been really easy to motivate myself. Like the last adventure I did with Silver's crew, I was chugging away at that quite like I was having a lot of fun writing that. But then other times like Julie's first adventure or this current one that's on indefinite hiatus with Frobisher, it's just it's so hard to whack something out of it. By Julie's latest adventure, I mean her first solo one. Like I was, like even when I forced myself, the end result was probably one of the weaker adventures I've written.
I still think it's better than you give it credit for, because I thought it was a very funny comedy.
I just assumed when reviewing it that that perhaps you work better with a larger cast and with characters that are already
that might be it. I do like having lots of people to bounce off that I'm familiar with, which is why writing for Silver is so I find Silver much less of an effort to write for, whereas like starting up newer characters can be tough.
Silver's first adventures, while definitely worth reading, is also some of your later stuff with Silver is much more enjoyable.
Stronger, yeah.
So that's
it's because I needed that. That was like the starting point to improve from. So I needed to have that in a sense.
That does make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I go back and I read the first. I like flick through I briefly glance over the first one I ever did, and it's like, God, there are barely any. These are barely paragraphs.
I've got the same, because essentially the largest thing I regularly wrote before joining ODAR were South Park fanfics that were essentially. Well, that were literally scripts, so, yeah.
Also, the funniest thing is how, like, Marcus's nationality seems to have changed over time. Because at the start, he was like, hey, you're a really big guy, aren't you? Yeah. And then, like, now he just goes, oh,
Joey Wheeler.
Oh, bloody hell, we forgot again.
Well, in my headcanon, Lim has always been Oxford.
Yeah. It's that kind of old university area.
Yeah,
I see that as well.
Well, in my canon, the north is more known for I don't know, British centric accent, and the west is the west.
Yeah. We're drifting a little bit, so I'm gonna throw in actually the other moderator, Greel's questions up in here, and these should actually be pretty fast to answer for all of us, so we're gonna go through them pretty quick. First one, what are your top 3 favorite manga? Mine are pretty easy to run down. Number 1 is Zatch Bell. Personally, yeah, that's just always been my favorite. I love the characters, I love the idea, I love the maturity, and I think it's probably the best power system I've read in manga. I think it's very well established and very well executed. Number 2 is One Piece. Not really a surprise there.
Yeah.
And number 3 took a while. I was bouncing between 3 different ones for a really long time, and solely for the presence of the second most important character in the series, I ended up going with Death Note.
Okay.
Because L's my favorite fictional character of all time. So eventually I was like, that kind of pushes them over the edge. So that's my top 3.
All right. I just went onto my anime list profile to give a refresher of which are mine. Because I need to do that now. I think, it's a pretty no-brainer. One Piece is my favorite. Followed by Koe no Katachi, Silent Voice. I thought it was... I really loved the way it tackled, like... the nature of bullying and overcoming a disability and stuff. And I was a little let down by the film because even though it wasn't very nicely directed, they cut out a lot of plot points from the manga because they needed to cut it down to a 2-hour runtime. But the manga is great. It has a real kind of when kids are being mean, and like bullying, it feels really like you really feel this sort of seething sense of oh god.
Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, I haven't gotten that from any other series. And then I guess my third would probably be Full Metal Alchemist, just because it does that shonen battle thing, but it's confined. It's not stretched out, and it's just confined to the 27 volumes it does. It has its idea and characters and world, establishes those, and then doesn't drag on too long like so many other shonen battle series do. Also, Roy Mustang is awesome.
Yes. There is a reason I can now make fire from clicking. Oh, sure. Sorry, do you want to go next?
No.
Sure.
You go next because I still haven't decided, and and I need to.
Okay.
Okay. Well, for me, I had to literally go back and think, okay, which one? Literally went through my head and go, oh, that was great. Hang on, was that anime or manga? Oh, that was great. Was that anime or manga? So I've limited this down to the 3 manga that I've ended up essentially reading through it until like 2 o'clock in the morning because I'm unable to put them down at points.
Yeah.
And for me, the first one is obviously One Piece.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's amazing, and I was literally thinking, oh, One Piece is too generic. It's like, no, it's One Piece. It's been routinely just amazing. My second choice is Private Evil Eye Nagami Neru, because I finished that at 3 o'clock in the morning, having marathoned about 100 chapters, and it's an amazing series. It's clever. It's clever, it's funny, it's got unlikable characters that you still follow, because Nero himself is a demon from hell and acts like a demon from hell, and yet when he's injured or in trouble, you feel bad for him and you want him to get out alive. And my third one is the one that made me realize I like harem manga.
Oh lord.
It's Change 123.
Okay.
Huh.
Nice. This one.
It's a really nice, concise harem manga where the point is the harem, but it gives you action. It gives you action and everything, and it just gives a it's got the bland anime protagonist problem, but he's fun enough that you follow him, and the girls and everyone and every single character is just enjoyable and fun to follow. Apart from the main girl, but who luckily isn't in pretty much the entire story because of multiple personality. So those are my 3.
Okay, right. I'm gonna try and choose 3, because there are so many I'd like to choose. Until recently, I would have put Promised Neverland in my top 3. Yeah, and we've kind of established why it disappointed me at some points, but maybe I could still turn around on it. My favorite probably will still be One Piece. It's
Are we seeing a pattern here?
Yeah.
I was amazed Nova it wasn't number 1 for him as well.
There's no other manga that's the journey of which was such an emotional wreck for me, which I connected to on such a level. Is especially I think you already might have guessed in the Water 7 arc.
I love that arc.
And it's got my favorite character of all time, and the characters are usually a huge factor in determining whether I like a certain story. And it's just plain funny, and I have a huge appreciation for comedy. So yeah. For my second one, I'm probably gonna go with Yeah, a silent voice too. I just really like that one too for the same reason you did. And for the third one, I'm conflicted. I want to choose between iShield 21, probably 20th Century Boys. Also, My Hero. Also kind of Death Note, but I feel that's a rather cliche choice.
Ouch. I'm kidding.
And we have Cheddar's top 6.
It's okay.
Yeah, okay. I'm probably gonna go with let's say iShield. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Right.
So the next one, I think this is one we can probably all get through in like a minute tops, which is what's the first?
Don't tempt me.
Okay. What is the
Stammer.
first manga and or anime you remember experiencing? The first anime was probably Pokemon for me, and the first manga was most likely One Piece, honestly.
Mm.
Yeah.
This one's a tough one for me because it's like, I'm not sure what I'd count. Because on the one hand, there's the Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh.
So the
Beyblade.
one was Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Okay. I think I'll just divide it into 3 categories. The kids stuff, so Beyblade, saw a random episode of that. The shonen stuff, Naruto, saw a random episode of that on TV. And then the proper stuff, the weeb stuff,
the hard stuff.
the Full Metal Panic, probably.
For me, yeah. At the start, everyone saw Pokemon as a kid. I didn't know. I just thought it was a cartoon. So the first proper anime I watched, Gundam Seed.
Yeah.
A friend. I remember watching a friend was watching the Orochimaru. I happened to come across a friend who was watching the Naruto Orochimaru fight on YouTube. And I was just like, hey, what's that? That looks cool. Can I watch it? And she was like, watch this one first. It'll get you more into anime than like sitting through early Naruto. And I, at 14, watched Gundam Seed. It's like, there are robots fighting in space. Why did I not know about this before?
Yeah.
With a really good
I think my first episode of Naruto was like the Sasuke versus Gaara fight, the very beginning of that. So yeah, that was neat.
For me, I'm not gonna be original, of course, because both the first anime and the first manga for me were Pokemon. And yeah, the first manga for me was Pokemon Adventures, or Pokemon Special as I knew it then. I grew up believing green was green and blue was blue, and not the other way around. And yeah, despite it being the official version now, I'm probably still gonna confuse the two till probably my death. So yeah.
And my first manga was unsurprisingly Bleach. When I'd finished the anime, I was like, hang on, there's still more story. Read.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the last one is, if you could delete one manga from your memory to re-experience it all over again, what would it be? This took a while for me. I went with iShield 21, just because reading through the entire series was a very odd experience for me, because I liked it fine at first, but it kind of snuck up on me in how good it was, in the sense that I started loving the series before I realized I did. And it was only at the match between the Daemon Devil Bats and the Bando Spiders, right when that started, and all of the characters, came out with all their introductions, that was the moment where I realized I loved that manga, and that I had loved it for a really long time.
I'm gonna go with...
So I'd love to experience that all over again.
I'm gonna go with Anani Master Kurosawa. It's yeah, it's got a very good story, and yeah, it was quite a surprising emotional journey for me, and I wouldn't mind seeing this kind of cathartic story all over again.
Yeah.
For me, I've spent the week trying to talk myself out of saying Code Geass. So I've actually come up with a better one. I would like to rewatch Death Note with no spoilers at like my own pace, watching one episode and then thinking about it, watching the next episode, getting into it again. I think I'd like to do that.
Mine, it's really tough for me now because on the one hand, I would say One Piece, but on the other hand, it's so much to get through. So
that's a lot of your life.
Also, I don't think I could do that with my current attention span. Like, I'm barely managing to like occasionally do bits of Detective Conan. So I guess I'll go with Gurren Lagann, because that's my personal favorite anime series. It has everything I want from a big sort of hearty action show, but in a condensed, 26 episode package. So I feel like experiencing that again would just be a complete joy. Like, I've rewatched it like 5 times anyway, so wouldn't be that much of a struggle to get through.
So if you could maybe delete not the entirety of One Piece, or but just one arc of One Piece from your memory, then what would it be?
Enies Lobby.
I think. Oh, that's so tough. I've been rereading through it, and my favorite arc keeps changing. Because at the moment it's Skypiea, but I'm worried if maybe if I read Alabasta and Water 7 again, it might turn to them. So, not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Enies Lobby, 100% Water 7 Enies Lobby.
For me,
Nice.
it'd actually be Marineford, because that's where I got into One Piece. The manga was at this point in the story.
I wish I could have gone through that unspoiled, but unfortunately I wasn't.
It was kind of after seeing all the characters from the Straw Hat Pirates, I was kind of bored, and I wanted to see them again, but maybe if I binged the arc, not knowing what was going to happen, then I think I might possibly be able to enjoy it more. So that's why I'd like to read it again.
Mm-hmm. So next question is coming from one of us, and it is coming from Wensleydale.
Ooh, right. So I've actually got 2 questions. I've got a forum-related one and a non-forum-related one. So which do you want me to start with?
I'll go with the forum one, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what would make your characters become a marine or a pirate if they aren't one or the other already?
I'm gonna do a lot of soul searching and like technical work for this one.
I think if Silpha's dad really pushed him over the edge and did something just that completely crossed the line with him, he'd probably turn pirate or outlaw of some kind. And I'm not at all hinting at a possible idea for a future story that I might do.
Yeah, no, none of us are going to be doing that with this question.
If I ever get out of West Blue.
I'm gonna wait till the end because I got like 6 characters, so I'm gonna let you guys go first.
I'm gonna stick with Felix because I don't think I've written enough of Rosa or Toby to know yet. To be a marine, actually I know the answer to both of these. 2 days would have to go differently. To be a marine, I'd need to go, but like I'd have to rewrite 10 years of backstory. I don't think it's possible for Felix to be a marine at the moment.
Yes.
Unless like something got held against him, and so you have to be a Marine, and he had to like work from the inside. Or to be a pirate, it would something. Yeah, he would have to reach a point where it's just like the privateer is the privateer. The title privateer is flawed. I don't need it anymore.
So if the same kind of would be with Noya. She would as for Felix and the Marine thing, she would she's kind of Bakugo in the way that she would rather die than become a pirate. And as for Kevlar becoming a pirate, well, that's a given. So I won't give it away. But Kevlar becoming a Marine, I imagine that he'd be probably comically talked into it without even realizing it, and then suddenly he would become the Admiral.
Nice. Right. I'm gonna try and go through these as fast as possible. For Askeladd, if he never went to marry Joa, he probably would still be a Marine. Honestly, that was sort of those 2 years there were the turning point for his character. So if he had never gone there and he had kind of stayed in his, for lack of and I think this is how Askeladd would describe it, his kind of like bubble a little bit, then I think he would have still been with the Marines today. Gulch, this is actually a spoiler for flashbacks that will happen in the event. Because there is a moment coming up in the event where he's going to have a flashback to the moment where he kind of decided to go down this particular path. Tamaki, if his parents hadn't been taken by the Navy, he might have joined the science division of theirs later on. That might have been something he would do. A pirate, hard to say. Probably he would just have to have gotten roped into it comically. Like, he wouldn't be a pirate of passion. It's just like, yeah, I want to like sail the seas and find the One Piece. He'd probably be like, well, it's a job, I guess. So
he'd be essentially Kobe.
Yeah, exactly. So Tamaki would probably be more comical. Laura is really hard to say. She would probably during the middle period, in between leaving the Kingdom of Goa and meeting Steel, probably somewhere in that middle period, if she had found a Marine that had really, really inspired her, maybe she would have joined, but she's a character that kind of hates authority a lot, so you'd have to kind of change her a little bit so that she'd go along with that. Kenzie's really, really tricky. It's because Justice is such a huge part of his personality that I'd say the only way he would switch to become a pirate is maybe if he had a experience similar to Askeladd, but almost something even more traumatic. And it's hard to say exactly what that would be, but you need something pretty big for Kenzie to switch over. I can't answer that with Shoto, honestly. So Shoto's entire character was built to fit the revolutionary model. He has a complete hatred for authority. He despises the world government, so I can't think of a way to turn him into a Marine. He's essentially built so that he would never go into that profession. A pirate, maybe if he never got the newspaper about the Revolutionary Army that had inspired him, maybe if he just kind of wandered around on his own for a little while, maybe he would have gone onto a pirate crew, but it wouldn't be a passion of his, like it is finding the Revolutionary Army for him. All right.
So should I ask the second question now, or later?
No, you can ask the second one. Go ahead.
Okay. So there's a story related to it. So I've been recently playing my copy of Pokemon Black 2 for, I think, about a year now. And I don't think I ever will again, because I've kind of grown to hate this game.
Really? I skipped Gen 5, so why?
Probably a good choice.
Yeah, it's probably my fault, but yeah. Establishing the team at the beginning was a torture to get through, since well, let me put it this way. I like exploring the games with new Pokemon in my team each time I play to get a fresh experience every playthrough. But it's just something I do. But I've already trained every starter in Alpha Sapphire through Mystery Gift, so I thought, okay, I'll just catch one of the Pokemon at the starting routes and train them as my main. So I caught a Seawaddle, since I usually monotype grass, and travelled as far as the third gym, when it turned out there was a move it can only learn in Gen 6, and since it's crucial to be to the Smogon strategy for Leavanny, I'd be better off catching it in Alpha Sapphire anyway. So after a long break of frustration, I picked up the game again. I tried looking for which starting route, which Pokemon from the starting route doesn't need to have a hidden ability, an attack that can only be learned in a future gen or while breeding, because guess what? The daycare here is unavailable until after the Pokemon League, because the starting routes from Pokemon Black and White are for some reason closed off until the end of the game. Sure. And to top it all off,
Okay.
I still don't know how to enter that bloody dream world. I tried.
There is a question coming, right?
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
This isn't Cheddar's Pokemon rant.
Yeah. Right. So after finally finding a Sunkern with the right nature and grinding it up to the second gym, it turned out that, well, Sunkern is bloody awful, and even after over-leveling it by about 10 levels for the stage at which I was in the game, it still lost to most Pokemon there. So then I started looking for a second Pokemon, and I said, okay, screw grass monotyping in this game, what else can I find? Alright.
Okay.
What the fuck is this question?
It's still coming. Still coming.
Oh my god.
I may have to ask you to speed this up a little bit, man.
Okay. So Gen 5 Weezing still holds up, and I just need to find a Coughing with a bold nature. So, and I looked. I didn't have that much money on my hands, I mean in-game money, so I had to restart the game whenever I caught a wrong Coughing. So I've spent over half a year in the very bank complex, usually trying to catch it as a mindless chore while watching a WMR stream or something. Finally I thought, okay, so can I find anything else? Alright, Magnemite with a timid nature is also a good choice, gotcha. So I go into the tall grass.
Cheddar, seriously, what's the question?
Dude, come on, man.
And the next thing I find, a Magnemite with a timid nature. I wanted to scream in agony so much, despite being just as happy at the same time. Why? So here's my.
I don't know. What's the question?
It's okay. It's just coming. So what? Here's my non-forum related question. What are your worst experiences with Pokemon?
Oh, I got one. Basically, I don't know if anyone's played the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games.
Yep.
But
Nope.
they have, yeah, basically it's like a big dungeon crawler where you play as the Pokemon. It's in a world set where you all the Pokemon talk, and like there aren't any humans you see. It's weird because they know what humans are, but you never see any, and they're not trained by them. But anyway, each of the dungeons tend to get more and more floors as you go in, and you need to make your way through each floor, find the staircase, and get to the end. And there's no opportunity to save except for either after you've finished the mission and you've gone back home, or sometimes there are save points in the middle of the dungeon. And playing through the second one, I had so much grief because my cartridge of the game was a little rusty. Like, it was, like, starting to wear off. So the game would just register as suddenly ejecting when I was in the middle of, like, the heat of a dungeon. And it frustrated me to such a degree that I think I broke 2 DSs on that game.
Jesus.
Just, like, grrr, like, wrestling with it in frustration. It was really bad.
My worst Pokemon experience is also on the Mystery Dungeon games, though actually to do with the games. Did you play Mystery Dungeon Infinity?
No.
Yes, I'm going to get to that.
Yeah, well done, Marlo. You made the right choice.
I've only played 1 and 2.
Mystery Dungeon Infinity was the most disappointing game I've ever played because it was an utter cash-in and just utterly worthless. And it wasn't a Mystery Dungeon game. It had the engine, but it had none of the fun of a Mystery Dungeon game in it. And I played through that entire thing and then realized, what the fuck have I been doing? But I love Pokemon, so that is my worst Pokemon experience.
That's pretty much my answer. The first Mystery Dungeon game surprised me with not only how good it is, but how genuinely mature it was.
Gengar tries to take you to hell.
I know, it's all really, really solid. And the second
both
Mystery
games
Dungeon
is really sad.
Yeah.
The second Mystery Dungeon game is one of my favorite games of all time, honestly. I adore that game so much. I think it's mature. I think its world building is excellent. I think its atmosphere is so good for a Pokemon game. And then the third game came out with none of that. And it was dull, it was boring, it was uninteresting. And at the time I was playing it, and I remember this it's not that it was dull and it was uninteresting. It was that one thing I liked about the first 2 games is there were actually really interesting conversations between characters. But in the third game, not only are these conversations uninteresting, but I don't think they ever end. Because there was at one point when I was sitting in my living room playing the game, and I think I was in high school at the time. And my mom walked in, she said, "How's the game?" I'm like, "How's the game?" And I said, "It's okay, but, they're still talking right now. I haven't gotten to play in a little bit." She leaves the room, comes back a little later, says, "How it's going?" And I go, "They're still fucking talking!"
Yep.
The cutscenes were so long and so boring and so uninteresting. And
so was the gameplay.
Yes. And there was a moment in the game which I credit as the stupidest moment in all of Pokemon.
Which one was it?
So throughout the game, you're being chased by a Hydreigon. Yeah. And eventually, it saves you. And I may butcher exactly the title that they give this thing, but after it saves you, it starts talking to you and says that I'm like you, I'm not actually a Pokemon. And I'm like, oh, it's another human who's turned into a Pokemon. This is going to be really cool. And it's like, what I am is, and I could be wrong here, the voice of nature.
That sounds about right.
And I was like, what the fuck is that?
Gordon.
The voice of nature.
Is that? What do you mean?
It sounds like something Welkin would say.
Nature?
And if you're the voice of nature,
if you're the voice of nature, and how is it taken the form of a Pokemon? What even are you?
You've never taken the form of a Pokemon. Why a Hydreigon? Why the scariest, most evil-looking thing in the world when there are literally Pokemon which are the voice of nature? There are legendaries which are defined as like aspects of nature incarnate. So why are you a scary 3-headed fucking dragon that's obviously designed to make it seem that's definitely the evil guy and not the good guy? Oh look, it's the good guy. I was wrong all the time.
It was other. I'm going to move on to the next question because I'm going to keep going on a rant about that game forever. Right down to the fact that the ultimate villain in that game is a fucking snowflake. So I'm going to keep going like a literal snowflake. Is what you fight at the end. But
the worst bit of that game was when the Hydreigon just like it came up to the screen and started talking to you as if it was talking to the camera. Just like,
That's
hey, do you want to
really
come back
weird.
to life? And I got
So-
bored and said no. It
So
wouldn't
I
let
take
me.
it there are no characters on par with, say, Grovile from Mystery Dungeon 2.
Oh,
There
God,
are
I
no
love
characters
Grovile so much.
Okay.
So I can't go on these tangents. I'm gonna keep
Yeah,
going
we need to
forever.
keep
Okay.
moving. We've
Yeah.
already used
So
up all our Pokemon tangent time.
So the next question is from Desmond, asking about personal reviews, some of our favorite player characters on the forum, and some of our favorite adventures on the forum. I'm not going to answer the favorite player characters question, because A, there are too many, and B, it kind of ties into a question a little later on. But I can say some of my favorite adventures. I'm going to mostly say ones that I'm not a part of. Most part, and he's right. Birth of a Captain was really, really fun for me. I felt that was a really solid story with some of the best use of flashbacks I've seen on the forum, and I really, really enjoyed that one. Sea Wolves was very good.
Thanks.
Yeah, at least in the sense of really building character dynamics between a very small crew, and even though certain members of the crew sort of, and by no fault of the writers of their own, kind of faded away after a little while, the story itself really holds up, and there's a lot of fun. And lastly, and this isn't exactly an adventure per se, but there were a ton of fights in the melee that just sort of blew me away with how passionate they were. Lucas D. Bell versus Bailey is hilarious.
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
Most of which I think it's okay, I'm gonna look up who he's fighting against.
Okay,
let's
not forget the naked standoff.
Oh, gotta remember the naked standoff. But Kazu's fight with Balki.
That was good.
A joy, and it's one of the best. It's one of those moments where you have two characters who you've been waiting to see square off for a really long time because you know just how good it would be, and then they actually go against each other, and it's a pretty decent fight with really, really funny lines and great action. And even though I haven't read this one in a little while, the first appearance of Casket Johnny by Desmond was a really interesting adventure in the sense that it showed a lot of stuff we hadn't really seen on the forum in a while. It showed a mentor who was a little bit more laid back in his mannerisms and his way of teachings, and a much more concrete romance than we've seen in a lot of cases. And then the final one I'll throw out just because this is somebody who I really want to give a shout out to. Even though Tamaki was in this fight, Darvos's writing opposed to Tamaki during that fight was fantastic. It's really emotional, really, really well done, and something that I reread a lot because it's really solid stuff.
So,
and I'm done. Yeah.
So, I feel like we're just going to be verbally fellating Milo all over this podcast, but
Oh god.
my personal favorite adventure, I think, on the forum was Wreckage in the Midway Graves, the prequel to Birth of a Captain. It's got a ton of great character moments, drama for a crew that was largely comedic at this point, which I love this way of storytelling. That it's very One Piece like. So I really had a connection with it. Also, I had a connection with it because I wrote for some of the characters during our crossovers. My favorite player character from the forum is probably Sunrock Olivia. She's just awfully funny. or at least she was. I don't know if Chris is ever going to return to the forum, but yeah, she's got some of the funniest moments in the entire history of the forum, and especially the barrel gag. I mean, I reprised it as Kevlar. You reprised it at Ascalad in your latest side thread. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also might mention, even though I have a few problems with it, the way Rio handled Julius's flashback in the Battle of the Black Fleet, I think it was called, was absolutely fantastic. Even if Rio had a lot of problems in this adventure, I think that flashback was just really well written.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got my choice. The problem is Nova's in all of them because you've got so many characters. I've been trying to find ones. It's like, no, I can consider this my favorite. Oh no, Nova's in this one as well. Okay. Let's start with one of the first. Okay, let's start with the only non-Nova thing in this. Favorite PC on the forum. It's Balky. It's always going to be Balky. No matter what Blockhead writes, Balky's always hilarious. Yeah, it's Balky. It has to be. Then I'm going to go. All three of these have a reason behind them. So, Escape from Etsusa was one of the first things I read. The stories I read on the forum, and it's great. It's lovely. It's occasionally charmingly meandering, and it ends up in a really nice fight scene at the end, introducing three great characters.
And it's got the barrel gag.
And it has the barrel gag in it. Yes. I also like that for essentially one of the first adventurers, Askeladd ends up going up against Watchdog sword guy, and can't win. Because normally for an early story, it's like, I beat him, look how great I am. But no, it was really nice to see. It's like, no, I don't believe that Askeladd can beat this character. Oh, look, he didn't. That was amazing. The other one is another one I read before the first, before the Remember Our Names event, when I figured out I'd be writing with you guys in the Books Make Bosco's Head Hurt. I read A Northern Wind Blows into Linma, and it's fucking insane. I don't know how you guys managed it, but you ended up having a fish fight on top of a flying car.
Oh my god, Marcus and Kevlar's fight, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
It just keeps on going from crazy place to crazy place to crazy place, and every time it looks like we're about to hit a point and move on to like a conclusion, no, it keeps on going in more and more insane to the point we have Gollum like as the head of that quiz thing, and then you end up with a proper fight, which it turns into a crazier fight, and to the point where you randomly manage to grab Vroom from somewhere, end up in the cart, flying through the place, and end up making it away. I still don't quite know how you managed to get away, but it's insane. And the third and final one is, I think, possibly for the size of the thread and the world building it made, was the Phoenix Pirates Into the Fire.
Oh,
that was
still the one I was going to pick.
Damn. No, Into the Fire is great. It's even with people falling in and out of it. It was really, really good to read, and just like this is. I don't. Again, it's just like this feels like an amazing piece of the forum universe, and I've still got no clue how it happened, because everyone was just writing their own stories in it that happened to flow into each other.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So just
Alright.
just a moment, just to felate you two as well. I really like the from the melee, the fights between Askeladd and Felix. This was yeah, this was very climactic to the whole event, and yeah, it was really fun to read.
Yeah, it was good fun to write. I really wish I'd had more time at the time.
All right. So I think my favorite thread. I think I'm gonna go with ship spotting. By just because I love the way you guys integrate that post cover story with the
dugong.
What was it? The Kung Fu Dugong. I like his little adventure, and just seeing you guys really kind of push to the brink with the fight at the end. Like Kevlar really in a really sort of weak place, but then being kind of raised back to his spirits again by Gulch. That was really cool. That left a huge impact on me. And also, apologies in advance for this, but my favorite player character is Max Cream, purely because for those who don't know, me and Steele are friends in real life, and between the two of us, Max has become a meme for all the right reasons. Like, he is such a unique presence as a character, like this wrestler who's themed around like cream and milk and has all these attacks like clotted cream and stuff, and and all of the people that he meets think he's super cool, and he gets the crowd all cheered up. And then I just remember there was that one melee fight. I've forgotten who it was against, but he came out in body paint and had backing music from some wrestling thing. And Steele just messaged me like, "Have you seen Max's new post? I'm screaming! Ah!"
Oh yeah, his fight against Tom was really good. I remember.
Yes. That thread was great as well. We may or may not have made a D&D character based on him.
Nice.
And then we were gonna do a space themed campaign, and Steele was like, Milo, hey, why don't we do a far out cream? I'm like, no, that's enough. Let's leave it now.
Shh, that's enough. Quiet.
Yeah.
We've taken this as far as we can.
Yeah. All right. So next up is actually my question. So this is I don't know how fast we're gonna get through this one, but I'll have to go in a little bit, so we'll see. The question is, which adventure do you look back on now and sort of have a concrete idea of what you would be able to do to make it better now that you're looking back at it in retrospect? Because there are certain adventures I've written where I'm like, that's not as good as it could have been, but I don't know exactly what I would have done to change it. But the example I'll actually give is Escape from Atsusa, where I do like a lot of the stuff I did, but the best stuff I did wasn't formatted very well. Askeladd's flashback with Liza, I feel like is very good, but it's really just one big giant paragraph of text. So if I could have gone back and formatted it a little differently. Also, this was back when I was very new to all of this, so I didn't really understand the etiquette for character borrowing. Which is something that I wish I'd understood a lot more. And also, I wish I'd reread things a lot more, because I misread certain things and resulted in establishing details that were different than other people had established, which got me in a little bit of trouble at the time.
Yeah. Okay. I think the adventure that I'd go back and retroactively improve would be Before Death Do You Part, which is an adventure I have a lot of fun memories of writing. I had a really good time writing it. The problem it had was that there were so many characters introduced, and not all of them were necessarily hugely important or relevant to the core story. Like, it was all about introducing the royal family of Misato and Safine as the new crew member, and all of her trials and tribulations with her family and a few siblings here and there. I don't know if it's necessarily that I had too many characters, or it was more that I didn't give them enough to do. But one really big thing that shot me in the foot with it was the fact that I wasn't very good at using pronouns and descriptors to describe each character, so I'd always alternate between the name or he, she. This is something I think I've improved at a lot since then, so I think just with that lone mark of progress since then, I could probably go back and rewrite it in a more coherent way. Yeah, and maybe just have Caspard play more of a role besides dropping hints at later things to come.
Well, I wish I... it's tricky for me because while I think a northern wind blows into Linma was the adventure I had the worst performance in. I don't necessarily think I would change a lot because it would kind of take away from all the madness, as you've said, Kastor. But I would maybe go back. I would maybe go back to. Well, no, I would go back to it and give maybe establish a little more consistent, distinctive character with Voom, and then I would go back to my first adventure to kind of get more focus on the on that elderly couple, which shit, I can't talk right now. The old lady later turned out to be a student of Unohana's, and I wish I could have maybe established that a lot better, and also as it was reviewed in the book club, I think I would have also maybe set the establish what the actual stage, the actual arena was inside the Colosseum, so that it wouldn't be as inconsistent as it came out. Sorry.
Now, for me, which story would I go back and which story would I go back and improve if I could? The Curse of Maslow, because I'm still doing it.
Yeah, which of your 3 stories? Two of which are not yet finished.
It would probably be, like, I have a tendency, like, in the months after I finish writing something, to think it's terrible and hate it, because it's got so many. I had so many ideas that I didn't quite manage to fit in. But then eventually I'll go back and reread it and say, yeah, but it didn't need those ideas. And I came up with, while I was writing, I came up with some amazing ideas anyway that were better than the original ones, and it didn't need the ones I had forcing in, because I can still use those ideas in other stories. So I think, like, without going back and, like, having the butterfly effect. If I change this bit, but then the entire story changes. I'd go back to my start of the books make Bosco's head hurt, and figure out what the fuck I was doing with that flashback thing, because I was writing 2 storylines intermittently between everyone else's posts, and I have a hard enough time going back and figuring out what I was doing at that point. I have no clue how anyone else managed to figure it out.
All right. So the next question comes from Iris, which is a question about which of some of the newer player characters we're looking forward to seeing more of, seeing them up and coming, a bit more developments along those lines. And I think what I'll start in saying is that I think most of all of the new characters we've gotten lately have been excellent. The forum's sort of seen a bit of a resurgence in the past few months, and I think everyone we've gotten has been really, really good. And this is going to sound like self-plugging, but it's not. I just have to get this out there. I love all the new Redwood characters. Honestly, I know it's saying I really love these guys. I think Rain is a fascinating character who has one of the more unique designs. I'm not just talking physically. I'm talking about this, assassin who also has these abilities in botany, who also is the owl fruit. And as some of you guys know, I tell a lot of the forum stories to some of the kids at my work, and they already love Rain. She's like one of their favorite characters already. Will is hilarious. Just constantly, he provides a really good dynamic to the crew. And I like spider fruits. Spider fruits I just find are really, really cool. And even though we have a few on this form, we actually don't see a lot of them in use. So I'm looking forward to see where that goes. I know Victor from work, so there's that. But he's a really, really fun character. I'm happy that he went with this design, because originally, as we were talking about it, because he was going to design a cook, his original idea was that he was going to have eaten the salt fruit and seasoned foods with his own bone salt. And I said, that's disgusting. That's awesome, but that's kind of nasty. So eventually we talked it into something different. But Victor's a ton of fun. I might be mispronouncing this name, but Melee, I want to say, is our shipwright. And they've done a really good job of putting a lot of personality into not a lot of writing, by which I mean that they haven't made a lot of adventures yet. It's their first adventure and then their current work in the Redwoods, but Melee is already a character with a lot of personality and a really unique weapon for the form, which I'm really looking forward to see both in the Redwoods thread and in the event. I know. Look, I know. I'm praising my own crew here. It sounds like self-plugging, but I really have to. I love all 4 of these characters.
I completely understand you because I've reviewed your adventure recently. Well, it seems like recently because I haven't taken on an adventure since, which I should probably do. I loved in your adventure the dynamic between Will and Rain, and the new pairs is also seemingly going to be pretty fun. So yeah, from what I read in your side thread. I wish I could say more, but I haven't been. I don't know whether they've written any adventures yet, but I've Void Eos has one of the most interesting character backstories I've seen on the forum. I've approved her profile, and yeah. She's a really interesting character.
I've not had much time to write this yet, let alone read. But I think of the two new people I read up a bit about. I've enjoyed writing with Youngblood Iris in the Blue Wolves thread. It's really nice just to have a small ray of sunshine bouncing around the place.
Yeah.
Which really
Can I just make that my answer too?
Yeah, go on, you do it. Go on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really fun to have that sort of character totally contrasted with Julie, who's like a very mopey, glum little thing. And then you have like another character. You have Rosa, who's the completely different from those two. Super sort of rambunctious and a little aggressive type.
I'm
very hands-on.
A lot of fun with her.
Yes.
But yeah, the other one is I read up on Melee as well, because we're going to be in a thread together in the event, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of crazy fun. That at some point I need to have us build some sort of crazy contraption out of stuff we find lying around and just rock up to the boss thread in it.
Right.
Does Frobisher count?
Sure. He's basically a startup because I haven't really started him up. So
Yeah.
You know, guys, this Kazuki Shoto guy seems pretty cool, doesn't he?
Nah, I thought he's a dick.
He is a total dick. Okay, so I believe we're coming to our final question right now from Kastor, if I'm correct, right?
No pressure.
Yeah,
Okay.
right? Better be fucking awesome. It's all good.
Okay, this is the one I came up with. What trait do you find in a protagonist? What trait do you find always makes them relatable or sympathetic? Or the best trait that resonates with you to make them relatable or sympathetic?
You mean personally or generally?
Oh, I know.
Personally.
I think it's when they have a veil of... I'm not sure... I don't know if stoicism is the right word. When they put up a front to hide their true feelings or insecurities. All Might's a great example. Toshinori, he literally has to put up the front for the longest time, of All Might in order to hide how physically weak he is. And he has to, even though sometimes he's really worried, I don't know if I can take on this threat the way I am now. I need to grit my teeth and just, make a show so that everyone can trust, everyone knows that I have their back, that I am the symbol of peace. Another example, approached in a very different way, is Kamina from Gurren Lagann. He's he's this big ball of energy and just he seems hugely brash and confident and headstrong, but deep down he is really, really insecure about living up to his dad and the fact that his father figure has been removed from his life, and that he's constantly projecting onto that. And so I think, I really love the fact that he's such a presence in that show through his sheer charisma, despite that deep-seated sort of regret. But yeah.
For me, it's tricky. There's not really one thing that I can sort of immediately think of that always kind of gets me behind a main character. But something that I find always helps, at the very least, is some form of passion. Something they feel very strongly about. And even if it's not a passion I particularly relate to at all, I always find, very strong feelings from characters to be something that I can at least get behind. An example is Soma, for example. I have slight issues with Soma's character, but I think that his passion for what he does and his real love of the industry that he's going into makes him a lot more interesting to follow. Same with Deku and his passion of superheroes and his love of All Might. it's something that I find very relatable because it's something most people have, and that even if you don't connect to it personally, you can connect to those emotions, those almost that almost irrational feeling of just loving one particular thing so much and wanting to pursue it. And even if they're characters who don't show a lot of emotion, or are very one note for the most part, their passion can usually be a way that they can break out of that, and you can see different aspects of them. And it's something, but for the most part, I feel like it has to be kind of grounded in the sense that the character has to be able to actually, like, you have to be able to say, oh, that's what this character's passion is. It's why I don't connect to Natsu very much. I don't really know what, like, I guess he loves to fight, kinda, but it's not really as grounded as something like Luffy, who's, in love with the idea of adventure. That's what he's passionate about. That's what he adores. And, it's something that drives the character, and I find that when you can get that done really, really well, I can usually get invested in the character regardless of what that passion is.
So
I can see that.
So, Kastor, your question was about just what makes protagonists relatable, or
well,
or
characters
what characters in general?
Is it
So
yeah, characters in generally.
Yeah, and in the first case, I wouldn't be really the right person to answer this question, because I generally don't tend to go for main characters when choosing my favorite characters. Maybe, although the protagonists I like the most in Jump right now are probably Luffy, Deku, and Emma. And Luffy for the fact that there is, well, character-wise at least, there is very little relatability to him. In that he's kind of the he's kind of bonkers to start with, and you never know what he's going to do next, and that's kind of the point, and that's kind of what makes him likable. As for what characters in general I find relatable, it's usually I suppose characters that show the vulnerability. That would be probably the easiest answer. Characters whom you see at the lowest point, and whom you really want to succeed. I also always like characters that are more than they seem at first. I think I've talked about it in the SBS. That's the reason I like Usopp and Bakugo for the same reason. That Usopp kind of seems this like this comic relief character who would usually be who an author usually wouldn't put this much depth into, and yeah, in my eyes, he's perhaps the character with the best development in One Piece. Whereas Bakugo seems like the character you would this kind of bully character like we have in World Trigger. Hey, that was so cool. Who would just disappear after a few chapters. Meanwhile, we have a really good motivation for him and an established character and an interesting dynamic with Deku. So yeah.
For me, I think to make a character likable or relatable to me, they have to be Aizen. So no, I'm joking. For me, it's that the character has to be flawed, and they have to be believably flawed, and the flaw has to be can't just be like, oh, introduce a character, they got over their flaw, aren't they amazing now? It's got to be a large part of their character, and keep being a thorn in their side that they need to really work hard throughout the series to overcome. For most shonen protagonists, it's normally their stupidity. And like you've got Luffy, who's dumb as bricks, and early Naruto, who was incredibly stupid, but both of them became sympathetic and relatable because they knew they were stupid, but they still tried anyway, putting their body on their body on the line to make up for it and do what they thought other smarter people could do easily. And for me, it's always the flaws, because a flawless character is perfect and boring. Yeah. It's why I can't get behind Soma, because the guy's infallible. And to a lesser extent, it's why Deku annoys me slightly, because despite his try-hard attitude, his only flaw is inexperience, and he's kind of outgrowing that a bit quickly. The more interesting character is Bakugo, whose entire pride is a detractor from his work as a hero. Yet he keeps trying everything. He keeps putting everything he possibly has behind reaching his goal, and the pride's still there. We're 150 chapters in, and Bakugo is still as much of it, maybe not as much, but still a massive jerk compared to like the opening chapters. So I like flawed characters. That's my answer.
That's very good. I think this went very well, personally. Yep. This was fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this.
Yeah. I actually have to head out right now, so I'm going to give a small plug to the event before I go. So the event will be launching tomorrow on May 2nd, probably around, and this is going to be an estimation depending on whether my alarm clock decides to be nice to me or not. Probably noon Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to try and get the threads up. And in terms of how long people are going to have for this, you're going to have probably the majority of the event to get through this. The boss threads are probably going to launch in early June. So the second the threads go up, go ahead, post, create your threads within them. Just to be clear how they're going to work exactly, we are going under the red line section. We are going to post a category for each of the different paths. So it's going to be the path of power, the path of fame, the path of wealth, and then you'll post your individual threads within it. There's been some questions about naming. I guess you can name it what you want, but maybe try to fit the names of the characters who are in the thread in the title, just so we can kind of keep track of everyone. I can't talk of everybody. And that said, looking forward to it. The dungeon crawl is going to be launching tomorrow. The docs threads will be open the entire time, in case you want to write your characters showing up beforehand and having a few interactions. And let's make this third event a good one.
Oh dear, the time paradoxes.
There's so many time paradoxes, and it's going. Oh, I'm gonna plug one last thing. Actually, I'm working on and off, and it might come out sometime in May, in a weekly manga recap inspired choose your own adventure game.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I've seen actually a preview of it, and it's glorious. You have to play it.
He's played through the demo, and it's expanded a lot since then. But what's very amusing to me is I've just given up trying to solve the time paradoxes completely, and I've just decided, you know what? It's just funnier this way. So yeah, that might be coming out sometime in May. I don't know where it's gonna come out exactly. I might, if Chris approves it, I might talk to him about like where would be best to post it, because obviously not the entire weekly manga recap audience is on ODAR online, so then posting it there might not work as well. So I'm gonna talk with him as to where would be the best place to make it available to everyone. But yeah, I'm gonna make it. Once it's done, it's going to be available to everyone. So that's it. I'll be signing off right now.
Yeah, cheers.
See you, Nova.
And that is gonna do it for this week of Stammer Stream. Thank you for watching, either on my YouTube channel or live at twitch.tv/Wensleydale Cheddar. We usually record on Mondays at noon Eastern Standard Time, 5 PM GMT, and 6 PM GMT +1. You can follow me on Twitter at Winsley Cheddar for updates on the stream, on Penganta, Friendly Faces Everywhere, Iffy Reviews, World Triggered, on our forum, and many other projects. Follow Milo at Hovin with an H for anime waifus, Cabal hijinks, and possibly Cabal cast if it's.
I'm gonna try and convince them to just record another episode after we see Guardians Volume 2. Just you know, to get the creative juices flowing, to get the motivation to edit the damn thing.
And follow Kastor and Dr. Nova at Kastor UK and at Jonah Left Snow for infinite content, which they just started releasing a week ago. So make sure you catch it all. Be sure to visit our One Piece RP forum, One Dream Adventure Reborn, to write some lovely stories with us, to take part in the event, and hang out to talk about manga in general. Kastor, I assume you don't want to plug anything.
I still have nothing unless people want to send me exam rubrics.
Alright then. So, if that is all, thank you guys for joining. Right. I want to thank Grail9 and who was the other person? And LCDC. Is that how I pronounce it, Milo?
Sorry? LCDC? ACDC. It's a pun on ACDC.
Okay then.
Yeah.
For showing up in the chat room. And yeah, thank you guys for we should do one of these again sometime when there isn't a week of manga. So once again, cheers for watching and see you next week. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.